We're back ahead of round 4 Super Rugby, and let's dive right in. Ryan, tell me about that Bulls prediction last weekend.
Look, the two things. One, clearly I underestimated the Lions and how far they've come as a team and the quality that they possess now. So I hold my hands up there. But, Craig, I have to note that Nick Mallett, the doyen of South African rugby, also called the Bulls. So there you go.
if that makes you feel any better, then so be it. But I think just on that point and talking about the Lions, I think if anything, beyond bursting the Bulls bubble, it proved just how good this Lions team is. And I wrote this week in my column that I think they look as good, if not better, than last year. And everyone thought maybe they're going to fade under Swayze de Bruin and Johan Ackerman having left. But I think they dominated the Sharks at scrum time in their first game, and it just proves what an all-round game they have. I really think this team can go all the way.
Yeah, and it speaks to how deeply embedded success is in their culture overall. I don't think there'll ever be a dynasty in Super Rugby again in the way that there was with the Bulls, for example. But success is deeply embedded in their DNA now. And so you're starting to see performances like you saw against the Bulls. So I based my prediction on what I saw from the Bulls in the week before that. But I underestimated how deeply embedded success and a winning mindset is in this Lions group now, and it definitely bodes well, going forward.
Yeah, I think now we'll also maybe see another side of them coming up against their first New Zealand opponent in the Blues, and it's probably the game of the weekend from a South African perspective. Right. The Blues coming on the back of 2 narrow losses, and they're that Kiwi team that's so inconsistent, but they've definitely got a lot of ability, a lot of threats in different departments. So they'll challenge the Lions, but I just don't think this Lions team actually fears New Zealand opposition anymore, and that's really a good thing for South African rugby. My prediction is a win of about 10 for the Lions at home, where it's a real fortress for them.
Yeah, I think tactically they are very good against any team, but they've essentially set the blueprint for South African teams against Kiwi opposition. Starve them of broken field opportunities, and kick well if that's part of your tactic. Kick well, get your defensive line up on them, starve them of those broken field opportunities, and then take your chances. I think they've developed the blueprint now, and the other South African franchises will do well to look at their tactical approach against any side really, but New Zealand sides in particular.
Yeah, then let's move on to your favourite talking point, the Stormers.
Wait, before I get there, I'm going the Lions by 15 as well.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, Stormers again, huge disappointment last weekend. I was on a conference call with Robbie Fleck this week. He's insistent there's no major problems. They're drawing some positives somehow from the last hour against the Crusaders.
Of course they are.
Yeah, so, it's just another week and another sad story for the Stormers. Their top 5, in all fairness, has been decimated by injuries. It's a major problem. Now they come up against a Highlanders team with the likes of Aaron Smith, Lima Sopwaga, 2 really tactical halfbacks. I just think territorially, tactically, a superior team, 2 big wingers. There's just too much on offer there for the Stormers to handle it. Highlanders by 10 to 15.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that conference call, because you're a better man than me, and I'm definitely not as diplomatic as you. Robbie Fleck is out of his depth and he's deluded, judging from what you're telling me about what he's saying about the Stormers team. They're just not good enough. The coaching staff is not good enough. The players, I think they've actually got a talented core. They don't have the coaching staff to extract the gold that is there to be mined. I tweeted during the game that Stormers supporters deserve better, and there's nothing that in the time between that tweet and now that has changed my mind about that. They deserve better on all fronts, because they've got every resource to be South Africa's premier Super Rugby franchise. I really believe that. But they're just being let down week in and week out by incompetent coaching staff, incompetent administrators, and then the players' performance is a byproduct of that.
Yeah, sure. And I think in a similar frame of mind might be a lot of Shark supporters who Also might be very frustrated by just the way that the team again has so much potential and failing to deliver on it last week, and so disappointing against the Waratahs. They had every opportunity to win that game and ended up succumbing to a disappointing draw. So they've also got themselves in a little hole here, but a perfect opportunity coming up against the Sunwolves, a team that they can maybe build some confidence again against before heading overseas. I think at the moment the Sharks are wanting to be ambitious, but just aren't quite finding the execution and not quite delivering the skills that they need to actually execute a more attack-minded sort of game, and that's really holding them back at the moment.
Yeah, I think you and I both agree that the Sharks might be South Africa's kind of Super Rugby underdog and dark horse for this season. I just looked at the type of squad that they have and decent coaching staff, and the draw I thought was favourable. I mean, the Tars aren't a Super Rugby superpower, and now they've taken points off the Stormers and Sharks in consecutive weeks. Just speaks to just the lack of killer instinct from those South African franchises, all but the Lions. So disappointing. I mean, they're going to turn it around this week. I think they'll do the Sunwolves by 20 plus going away. But yeah, just so disappointing.
Yeah. I think I'm a similar sort of kind of margin there. I reckon 15 to 20, they'll come away quite comfortably as winners. And then Ryan, let's just turn to the last game. The Bulls, like we've discussed, probably brought down to earth a little bit last weekend, but I don't think they're going to head to Australia now in much of a panic. They still know what they're wanting to kind of achieve under Mitch.
Yeah.
Reds is a team, they got perhaps a somewhat surprise win over the Brumbies last weekend, but not a team that's going to put too much fear into the Bulls. It's actually an opportunity, I think, for them to go overseas, get back to winning ways, and then go from there. I reckon Bulls even away from home, 10 points.
Yeah, I agree. I think they could do the Reds by 10, maybe 15. So I'm gonna say 10 to 15. This is a tour where they can. I think they come back with a good return. They've got the Chiefs next weekend and the Crusaders, so it's a tough tour. But I think they, if they start the tour well this weekend, which I think they will do, they could get points in Hamilton. Getting points with the Crusaders is going to be a different task altogether. But I still believe this is a really well-coached team who have the ingredients to do really well in Super Rugby this year. But starting with this tour on a good note is critical. They can't drop points this weekend in Brisbane. They just can't, and I don't think they will.
All right, great. All right, thanks, Ryan. Let's hope for a better return on our predictions, and we'll be back next week ahead of week 5.